Well, sweeties, it's the end of the month here at How Star Wars Is It? And you know what that means.
It means revisiting a Star Wars movie. In this instance, the third most Hasui movie as judged by us on the show.
That's right. This week we're covering Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
How Star Wars is it?
Welcome, one and all!
Step right up, try your hand at How Star Wars Is It? The only podcast.
Knock down the clown and win a prize!
We're really bringing some fun energy right out the gate on
Yeah,
this.
guys, we haven't recorded in a couple of weeks, and every time that happens, we always are like, how do we do the podcast?
Yeah, we come back and we're just like juggling a bunch of stuff like cool clowns.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
keep the circus analogy going.
Yes, but
welcome
welcome
to
to
the end
the
of
show.
April. Is it the end of April?
Yeah,
Right,
the
where we're
end
at?
of April.
And yeah, welcome to the show. This is How Star Wars Is It? It's the only podcast. What do we do on this podcast, Mike? Remind me, because I don't even know.
Yeah, well, Josiah, we take a movie.
Did we
or a
even say our
book.
names?
Yeah, no, I'm Mike. That's Josiah. We take a movie or a book, or we say a book like we always do that. We've done
Have
exactly
we ever done a
zero
book?
books. That's not true. I think we have done some in our 100th episode. Anyway, we take a thing and we review it. You know, like Siskel and Ebert, or who's another famous reviewer? Jerry
Andy Daly.
Saltz, the art critic.
Yeah, sure. That guy.
But
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Or should I say maybe, St. Paul at the gates of heaven reviewing you as a person.
I thought that was Peter.
I don't remember. I wasn't. Yeah, go
And
ahead.
cut all this.
Yeah.
And just like St. Peter, we take
Our
that
sexy.
thing and we review it, but not on hey, 1 to 10. I'd say that's a 9 out of 10 of how good it is. I would recommend going to see that thing. No. We only care
Mike, you know
on
what's
this
fun is
show about how Star Wars something is.
Mike, what's fun about what just happened is you paused for a second, sort of teeing me up to continue explaining the show. But I was thinking about how Peter means the rock, right? That means it means rock.
And Wiener.
Yeah, and Wiener. And Jesus changed his name his name was Simon. He changed his name to Peter because he was
right.
you're the rock and the church off. I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how there is a man named the Rock in our modern world. And I was just thinking about if people back then treated because call it the Rock is not a name, right? That's not a name, right? But
and that
calling
is
someone Rock,
what people back in biblical times were like. Okay, I guess Simon is a wrestler now.
Yeah, they're like, we have to call
He's
this guy
by the Rock.
We have to call this guy Rock? Are you kidding me? You can't. It's like when someone's an adult and they're like, I have a cool new nickname, and they try to get everyone to do it. It's like, no, I'm not going to start calling you Chet. I don't know what a cool nickname is.
Do you think Dwayne Johnson and his
Real name is
story
Peter.
as depicted in Young Rock, we meet his best friend who's like a prophet and a carpenter, and he says, upon this Dwayne Johnson, I shall build my church.
Yeah, I think that the second coming already happened, but the Rock eclipsed Jesus in fame so quickly that it didn't work out, and Jesus had to go back up to the heaven.
Yeah, so we
Anyway,
described
this
the
is-
show, right?
Yeah, so we're not worried about how good or bad they are. We're worried about how Star Wars they are.
We just physically cannot do a concise intro to this podcast.
I'm not sure if we've ever been able to.
By the way, my favorite ever, in fact, I took a screenshot and I saved the photo, best survey answer ever. We got a survey answer, and under the question of let us know anything else you want us to know, it says, I wish it was an easier sell to friends, but the podcast is perfect.
Hey,
Which,
and whoever
I
said
love that because
whoever submitted that review, honestly, same.
Yeah,
I
you're
agree.
right. It is perfect, and it is impossible to tell someone about.
Yeah, it is a good podcast. Yeah, I was on a Zoom party with Charlie the other night with her theater company, and some of them hadn't met me before, and we were talking about stuff, and Charlie very rudely brought up my podcast, and I was
It is so rude.
I was like, don't
Fuck.
tell these 10 people, some of whom I don't know,
Right.
about my podcast. I will be humiliated. Even though, like, I like the show, but I just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, it
in
is. First of all, it is
settings.
humiliating to admit you have a podcast. Like, that's just step one. And then you say it's like some goofy ass nerd shit.
I know. And, like, it's like one of her, the people in that company has a podcast as well, but it's like artistic shit. Like, it's like, it's very cool. It's like, and then mine is like, well, we are two white guys that talk about Star Wars
about
ostensibly,
Star Wars,
and
because there's just not enough of that.
But mainly
that
we
thing.
we get off topic constantly.
Right. We
so,
talk about the Bible.
We talk about the Bible. Heard of it?
Yeah.
I did listen to. So we're talking about Empire Strikes Back today. We're revisiting Empire.
Yes.
In our ongoing effort to revisit.
And how long ago was it that we first covered Empire? Because I feel like it was more recently than, say, Rogue One or whatever.
You might think that, but I don't remember, so I'm gonna go look real quick. I did just look it up.
But you listened to it like
I did
today or
listen
yesterday,
to it
right?
today.
Yeah.
I listened to it today, and I was surprised at how long ago it was because it came out. Here's what's crazy. It came. Let me see what episode it was. It came out in. Hold
1980?
please. January 20th in 2020.
Oh, okay. So
But
it's been
we
over a
recorded
year.
it. We recorded it in December of 2019.
Wow.
Before Rise of Skywalker.
Oh.
I literally put a disclaimer in it because it was the first time we talked about Skyline Chili, but then since we recorded it so far in advance, we talked about Skyline Chili again in a later episode that came out before this one. And
That's
so
right.
it sounded
I'm remembering
like we were,
that now too.
It sounded like we were repeating ourselves, but actually the one that came out earlier was repeating ourselves. But yeah, so it was an interesting listen because it was, let's see, episode 47, January 20th, 2020. So almost at a year of podcasting, and it was pre-COVID.
Right.
It was and pre-Rise of Skywalker, two huge disasters that are
right around the same time.
Right around the same time. Like we were talking about going to like you were still plugging Baby Wants Candy. We were talking about how I was going to go be in that Anarchy Festival in New York.
I did a night of Baby Wants Candy. It's 2 shows typically. And it was like the end of February of 2020.
Yeah.
So we were like weeks away, and like both nights, or both shows that night rather, the suggestion was something like contagious disease or something like that. Because everyone's like, you guys hear about this thing? Like, oh, fun.
Yeah, so it was wild listening to it, and also there's a different feeling in our tone and voice because we once again we haven't seen Rise of Skywalker yet, and so there's like a sense of like anything is possible still.
Yeah, right.
And very innocent, very cute. But so you, because of busyness, I didn't rewatch all of Empire this time. You did, but I listened to our episode, so I can talk about what we've talked about. So here's things we shouldn't cover. Okay. We talked a lot about how it was a really good movie.
Yeah.
About how it was a really good script. We did talk about the ice cream maker, which is funny because we talked about that recently too.
Right.
We talked a lot about Skyline Chili.
Okay.
And about the extended chili metaphor. So we don't need to revisit that.
The EU of chili.
And it was also the introduction of the Caitlin bye. Whenever she said bye, to Luke.
That's right, because she
and Vader every time
started
they fall.
watching with me. Yeah.
So those are the main points, really.
Okay.
And then my game was pretty fun, but it wasn't related really that much to Empire. So
Well,
honestly, we have a lot of room to play because
Yeah.
most of that episode was us just saying, this is a really good movie.
And I did rewatch it. I watched it on Disney Plus for the first time.
How was that? How was that?
Well, so Empire has, in fact, I only took a handful of notes. And most of them are like me spotting CGI additions, but
which there is.
It's like the least egregious offender of George Lucas going back in and tampering.
Mike, I'm so sorry. This was another thing from our episode I did forget to talk about because I watched the special edition last time, and we had this discussion about how there is stuff added, but it is not as bad.
It's like silly to have bothered, But
Sure.
it doesn't
You didn't really
change the whole movie,
Yeah, exactly.
But okay, so let me just rattle off all my notes because it's like this long. Oh, you're just seeing a white.
All I can see is a white blank screen. So that's not very many notes.
I basically didn't take a single note until after the evacuation of Hoth because like Hoth gets revisited so much and gets dived into. But I wrote asteroid field.
Great.
And then I wrote music. The song in the asteroid field that like da 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 da. It's like it's got like a bit of a pace, but it isn't like chase music as you might think, but they're being chased. Like it's great. And they that's one that you don't hear recycled all that much in like, you know, like the new movies, like the trailers will play like the Leia theme or whatever, and it's like, okay, but that's not. And like this is a song that like could be like pilfered and repurposed, and they haven't done that. So I love hearing that
theme.
The asteroid theme. I wrote the guy. The guy whose hologram disappears when they get fucking smashed by a big rock.
Absolutely brutal.
Love that. I also love that the sequence we see is an asteroid colliding with the bridge of a Star Destroyer. And of course, it's that thing from like 1980 where it's an explosion comped over the front of other films. So it's more just like a sticker as opposed to like, you know, integrated. But at the time, cutting edge special effects. But you see that explosion and then it cuts to Darth Vader talking to the hologram guys, and it takes a second for the guy to be like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "Oh man!" So like they got just completely smashed, and it took like a second or so to actually transmit that data.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. Which you know, what is the transmission speed? You know, I'm sure we could really get into the math and try to figure out how quick
so
their
it's clearly wireless. You know, like they have the equivalent of Wi-Fi. Although they still a lot of times will like hand deliver data in like floppy disks.
So this is interesting because I've been reading slowly but surely the what's it called?
The From a Certain Point of View?
Light of the the new
the Light of the Jedi, I think.
Light of the Jedi. Thank you. And the fact that I couldn't remember the name is sort of indicative of how I'm enjoying the book because I'm kind of not enjoying it very much.
How far are you?
I'm about halfway. I think a third of the way, maybe.
It truly took me like halfway through to finally be like, okay, I remember this character. Like I needed to sit down and read like 100 pages without putting it down. You know, like I typically read like a chapter before bed, and it was impossible to get into that way.
I think that's my problem with it is that I haven't really like sat in it, and it is doing that thing of, and we'll once I finish, we'll do it. We will do an episode about it. I think that would be fun to do an episode about.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the reason I brought it up is because there is a lot of, you know, this is hundreds of years before Star Wars movies, but it's funny because they're talking about some of the technology stuff. And it's interesting, right? Because Star Wars isn't hard science fiction.
Right.
And so the fact that, and I think they probably had the same issue in the EU and stuff, but like having to like sort of vaguely
like Knights of the Old Republic took place like thousands of years before the movies, and it was essentially just the same shit.
Yeah, it's like technology has not advanced that much, and also having to sort of vaguely just technobabble all the technology stuff is very funny to me in the written word, because in the movies you just see it and you're like, yeah, sure, that's how it works. But
because it's like flashy.
Yeah, but then like when you're writing a book, you have to be like, the transmission garbled though it was because of the, and it's like, but what? Why is it this way? And also like they deal a lot with the hyperspace travel in this book, like you mentioned before,
and like pioneering hyperspace lanes.
Yeah, which it's so weird looking at the nitty gritty of a very tried and true Star Wars like standby mechanic.
Like at some point in the history of the galaxy, they had to send like the Google car out to like map hyperspace. Yeah, which is really crazy to think about, because if you called them like prospectors, I don't know how far you are, I don't want to ruin anything, but like
I'll forget.
If you don't know what you're going to travel at the speed of light toward, how will you know like to stop soon enough? So like people were just like, basically you turn on like record route, And like,
And
I'm gonna go as fast as I can in one direction until I explode.
Yeah.
Or
They're like
hopefully I don't.
They're like the thing that people talk about sometimes, like the mushroom eaters of like human beings, where it's like, yeah, I'll try that mushroom, and then it's like, well, that guy died, so we all need to remember that we don't eat that one, and it's just like there's just occasionally in society,
and then
there's
like
people
if
crazy
that
enough
were
to eat
to have
mushrooms.
happened, you see someone eat a mushroom and they die. Why would you try a different
Any
mushroom?
other mushroom?
Yeah, like okay, well, I guess all mushrooms make you die.
It is great, the idea that like. I guess the question is, here's the question, right? Was the first mushroom we ate good? Because if the first mushroom was good, then
people are like,
it's
damn,
understandable,
I gotta
right?
get another one of these.
Because it's like, this one didn't kill me. It provided me sustenance. I'll eat whatever the fuck mushroom. But then, if the first mushroom ate was bad, that's the question of like, why did you try again with any other mushroom? You should have just said like, no mushrooms.
I suppose, there's also like people watch animals eat things and then they're like, oh, I can eat that. People. I'm talking about like Neanderthals.
We've probably talked about this before, but like, because we've talked about everything on this podcast
and like
before.
Pokemon, like invented
Pokemon
language.
talking. Yeah, that was something else I realized listening to Empire Strikes Back, because I was like, wow, we do some of the same jokes, and I do some of the same rants.
That was another answer we got on the survey. It was like fewer tangents, or at least not all the same tangents.
Well, friends, sorry, because I'm on a tangent right now, and I cannot see a way off yet, but I'll get there eventually.
Well, here, I'll get you off of it, unless you want to finish the thought.
Well, let me finish, because you can tell me if I've talked about this before.
I'm going to let you finish, but Beyonce had the greatest video of all time.
So you said like people watch animals eat things. It makes me laugh whenever people are like, yeah, we should. I've definitely talked about this before the podcast, I think. But it's like when people are like, yeah, you eat a banana by peeling the longs or like peeling the bottom part, and then you hold the stem like a handle. That's how monkeys do it. And it's like, who cares how monkeys do it, guys? They're dumb.
They're animals.
They throw their poop. We don't poop like monkeys. We don't live in trees like monkeys.
Right.
You can open a banana however you want. And it's like anytime people are like, oh, we got to like nature, or like when people are like, oh, babies instinctively understand this thing. I'm like, yeah, babies also poop their pants.
Right.
Okay, guys.
It's the type of like bad faith logic employed by like anti-abortion types.
yeah, exactly. It's like there's a natural order of things or whatever, and it's like no, you can eat a banana with the peel on if you want.
Right.
There's no right way to eat a banana.
Right, and there's no wrong way to eat a Reese's.
Let's go to the pit. Here's
Bye.
our ad break for
That's the end of the episode.
All right, get me off this tangent. Get me off this tangent.
The only other notes I have, so that was all my asteroid field notes, was that the music and then that guy gets smashed by a big rock. And then,
somehow I got to making fun of monkeys and babies for being stupid.
And then the only other notes I have were a couple notes on Bespin. One was whack new CGI establishing shot. They fly in and you see like Cloud City off in the distance, and then when we like see Cloud City, it's like so pod racing.
Do you think there's is this anything? Instead of Mad City by Kendrick Lamar, Cloud City, and it's like that's it. That's all I have.
I don't think that's something.
Okay, now is this anything? Bespin, Best Buy, like what's the Best Buy like at Bespin? Is that anything?
No.
Okay, great. Continue on. That's all. I just wanted to check in.
And then the only other things I wrote was background shit in the walk and talk. Like there's an elevator. Like they're walking around and they clearly comped different backgrounds in, and you see like a vista through the window at Cloud City, and there's like one of those outside of the building elevators, and it's like, okay, fine, neat.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing I wrote is, this movie looks so good.
Yeah, it really does. It's excellent. Something the notes
lighting.
I watched. It's funny because, It's funny because I watched through right after the Hoth evacuation. So I didn't get too much into it, and I only took a couple notes. But
the lighting is all like this.
Mike is shining a flashlight on his face from like the bottom and the side, and he looks very dynamic. It's very good. Now the light's moving.
Yeah,
Here's
everything is so dynamic.
Harrison Ford is very handsome.
Yeah.
And also he's still trying in this one.
Yes.
Because we talked about how, like, in Return of the Jedi, he feels a little like he's phoning it in. And this one, he's really going for it.
Yeah.
Leia looks great. She's also very good in this. Like
in Return of the Jedi, every single line of Harrison Ford's should have just been, whoa, 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 whoa.
Or like, like him just making a sarcastic face.
Yeah.
Leia looks great and is great. Also, her like Hoth outfit is just very like cool, and her hair looks cool. It's good.
You know what's
costuming.
funny? I really loved Leia this time watching it because I had
she really stood out to me, at least in the part I watched.
Yeah, and I had like the Leia of Last Jedi in my head when I was watching her like tell all the troops like we're gonna, whatever. I was like, oh, this is the same exact character we see in The Last Jedi, who's like, I don't care how we win. I just care that we all can survive. Like that the most people can have the best life.
Well, and you see it too, even in the Hoth scene where like Han has to like drag her out because she was ready to go down with the ship, almost just to make sure that enough people got out, and he's like, "Let's go."
And like I've never even hardly thought of her in this movie because it's funny. Later in the movie, she is kind of just like the boring girl. Like she doesn't have a lot to do after Hoth.
It's true. Hoth is really where she shines.
Yeah.
The other notes that I took are, do I have anything new to say about Star Wars? No. And then I said arm chop because the Yeti gets his arm chopped off. It's very Star Wars.
Very foreshadowing.
And then the only other thing I wrote, which is I think an interesting conversation that we've talked about a little bit, but like the Force is such a great, because something else we talk about in the episode that we did previously is that like
creep.
They get lucky. Their plan is lucky in this one, right? They always luck out. All their plans always succeed because of luck.
Like fate. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I wrote was the Force is a great shortcut narrative tool to have in your universe because. And did you watch that little Freddie Prinze Jr. rant on like some show or whatever where he's talking about he's the voice of what's his face in Rebels, Kanan?
Oh yeah, Kanan, right?
Kanan, yeah. And so
I guess I haven't.
He goes on this little rant. It was on some interview about how like about what the Force is whenever because he has talked with Dave Filoni and like George Lucas, right? Like he played this character, he knows these people, and so he goes, and it's in response to sort of the toxic fandom in response to the sequels. And so he was like, the thing he says is he's like, the Force is all about balance. He's like, if you watch these movies, you know it's going to happen because it's about balance, and the Force is always trying to balance the dark and the light. And so he's also like addressing like gray Jedi kind of stuff and stuff like that. It's like it's a cool theory, but it's not how it works. I don't know if he says gray Jedi specifically, but he's like, there is Darth Vader and the Emperor. They're two evil people. So what happens? Or two evil, Force users. So what happens? Twins are born, Luke and Leia. It's all balance. And so it's like it's this very interesting thing that he talks about how because of the mechanics of the Force in the universe, you always know what's going to happen because how it's going to be balanced by the end, which from a narrative standpoint is fun because it's not necessarily a plot hole, but like most blockbusters and action movies survive on people getting lucky and getting things done at the last second, right? Like every Mission Impossible
and like
movie.
That their plot allows for more, like because here's what also comes with balance: when the good guys win categorically, that means there's some new bad guy that's about to come up.
Yes, exactly.
Just like bad guys mean new good guys, like
yeah, it's like a cycle, and
it's sort of like how we've talked a lot on the show about like it's cool to do like the 80s again now. Fashion is cyclical, evil is cyclical.
Evil is cyclical. Nazis are back. Everything comes back. That was a flippant joke I just made that made me very sad. But no, it is. And so like watching it this time, anything in the Star Wars universe at all, I feel like and it's like George Lucas talks about. He's like, or like what he thinks Star Wars is about, right? It's like the what are they called? The little things, or the original like title, the
Wills, the Guardians
the
of the Wills
or whatever. It's like that's what he thinks it's about, and he's kind of right because really it is about this way that everything is connected and things are gonna go okay for our heroes,
Yeah.
and then they will go really bad, and then they will go okay again, and then they'll go really bad. Like I don't know. It's watching just a little bit this time, and listening to ourselves talking about the way that they get lucky and how that's Star Wars. I was like, yeah, I mean, the Force is essentially just a narrative baked in tool of they'll get lucky sometimes, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. That's making me remember George Lucas when he was asked, like, after Disney took over, like, what his, trequel, like, sequel trilogy would be about. He was like, oh, yeah, I think we'd go microscopic and we'd learn about the midichlorians. Like, do you mean Osmosis Jones style, where the whole movie, it takes place as, like, cells? Because, to be honest... And once Disney has, like, fully exhausted and expanded to, like, there's going to be a new Star Wars thing every, like, 15 minutes, I want to see George Lucas's midi-chlorians, like, short. Or hell, maybe it's a movie.
I want the guy who did the original Clone Wars miniseries.
Yeah, Genndy Tartakovsky. It's either Genndy or Gendy, but it's not Gendry, like I said over and over in our live episode that hasn't ever seen the light of day.
So Mike's called himself out, and no one even knew. But now you know that he said it wrong.
Yeah. Well, but that means
eventually,
like if you do ever hear it, say we do release it, you'll be like, oh, he's already apologized for this on the second time they did Empire Strikes Back.
That'll be the note on the wiki. Mike apologized for this, and I want to see that animation with Lucas's vision of
I think
the
that would be
Osmosis
sick
Jones
because
of the
the thing that thing really had going for it was quietness and lack of dialogue.
Yeah. Which George doesn't need. It's funny that you say that because, like, once again, reading the Light of the Jedi and stuff, a lot of these ideas are being explored more. And I've been reading more different sci-fi books recently, and I've been thinking a lot about, like, dimensions above and below ours, like what that would look like. And in a lot of ways, I do feel like the Wills and the midichlorians and the Force in general, it is like a higher dimensional force or beings acting upon our universe in a way that we that the people, or the Star Wars universe, that the people in the Star Wars universe can't fully understand.
Right. It's like the have you seen Interstellar?
Yeah.
The like end like tesseract shape he's in.
Yes.
It only reveals itself to him in 3 dimensions because it's like you're a human, you won't understand how this works otherwise. But like,
and it's like
I think you're right because in Star Wars, there's like you said, the Guardians of the Wills, like Chirrut Imwe, is like he's not quite like a Jedi, but he is effectively using or calling upon the Force to aid him. Then, of course, there's the Jedi, and then there's the Sith, which is very much like the Jedi. But then there's also like magic, like there's the Night Sisters of Dathomir, and I think you're right. I think there's another dimension or dimensions like Doctor Strange and Wanda. They have a certain type of tap that they tap into that thing.
Right, and there's
they only get it's like the thing of what's the thing that's like the real world is the fence and enlightenment is what's beyond the fence, but religion is all the holes that you use to look through the fence or whatever. Yeah, this is
kind of like the allegory of the cave, which we were talking about maybe doing as well, because of Derek Delgadio's book.
Yeah, did you read that too?
Oh yeah, I finished
you read
it in
first.
2 seconds. It was incredible. But in and of itself, everyone go watch it on Hulu if you haven't and read his book. It was great. But yeah, no, it is. I feel like there is cool stuff that sometimes I get bored with Star Wars, but then sometimes I don't because I think about the world and I'm like, there is so much cool stuff you could do.
Yeah.
And there is cool stuff that they're doing that's more science fiction-y in like the Light of the Jedi exploring the
like how different
hyperspace,
Jedi see and experience the Force. Like what's her face sees it as a song or experiences it as a song. And it's like always going,
And then like some's a huge ocean, like a Wookiee sees it as like the forest. So I'm like, this is really cool insight into a world because it's a cool world. I'm saying all this because while I was watching Empire, I didn't finish it because I didn't have time. But also I was just like, I'm kind of bored of watching Star Wars movies.
Yeah. But I will say that book, despite being like sort of a slog to get going, it has made me have this new layer of appreciation for all other things Star Wars because like by the time we know the Jedi and the the prequels, they have completely just gone like standardized testing route of like,
Sure.
okay, you learn what the Force is. The Force is this. It is not this. It is only this. And like, I feel like if a Jedi Padawan at that day and age was like, I feel the Force as a song, they'd be like, no.
You're like, no, there's no singing in Jedi.
Yeah,
okay?
right. And like, it makes me certainly like the prequels more, and it does make me sort of appreciate the sort of, like Luke has zero training and he learns how to like pull a lightsaber out of the snow using telekinesis, like I don't know.
He chops off the Yeti from the Rudolph animated
yeah,
special's
the
arm.
Bumble.
The Bumble.
Bumbles bounce. We should do that.
We should do that. My energy is all over the place today. I'm sorry to the listeners. I'm going on so many weird tangents and also
I don't know.
bigger
This is
ideas.
like we've already covered Empire Strikes Back.
I know. I'm trying to think. That's the thing is,
this thing that we're doing every month is because Mission Impossible was fun, and then we're like, well, it's been a while since we've done Star Wars, and like it's been fun to rewatch them.
And once we get down to the movies that I feel like we did dirty, it might be a little easier. But like for Empire, we gave it a 9
give it like
the
a
first
high
time around,
8, right? Or a 9, okay.
I think we gave it a 9 because no. Yes, because we gave Phantom Menace a 9, and Empire a 9, I believe.
We can check, but yeah.
Let me go back to but anyway, this one I don't think it's going to change that much.
So
I'm trying to think of like
see
bigger
the next,
ideas to talk about.
3 or 4 months as just being like an exercise where we do the movie again, and then when we get down to like Rogue One and Solo, we like truthfully reevaluate them.
Yeah, because I'm looking at our list. We gave Empire a 9.
Okay.
But we rated it as slightly less than Phantom Menace,
right?
Which is also a 9.
Which we kept at 9 when we reevaluated it last month.
Yes, and so like this one also feels like it's not going to change that much as far as our rating goes.
Right. Maybe we give it a concrete numerical value that is less than 9 when we get there, if we feel as though that is true.
Right,
so that it's not like a high 9 and a low 9.
Right. It's we can maybe get in some decimal points, but like I mean, because I don't, like I said, like, do I have anything new to say about Star Wars? I don't know. Do I have anything new to say about this movie? I don't know. It's still very good, right? Like it lives up to the
It's very good.
It's like a classic.
You know what else is good about it? So it's good. It's better as a film, as they would say, than A New Hope. It's more complex. It's more dynamically shot.
So it's more competent.
The camera isn't just like locked down to the ground at eye level, like there's a lot of more interesting stuff going on. But I will also say, like A New Hope, this movie should not have worked as well as it did. There were like multiple different drafts of the script that were like kind of bonkers to my memory, as having listened to Star Wars Minute of Empire years ago now. But the other thing is there's like these deleted scenes, which we'll hear about more after the break, as a matter of fact, that I hadn't seen until yesterday. And like some of them are also just like, man, you guys dodged a bullet by cutting that scene, because that was like, what?
I was thinking today, like when I was watching it a little bit, and I was like, sometimes it's interesting to think about Star Wars, these movies, and especially the classics. It's like, is this actually good, or is it just hyped because it's been around for forever? I do think Empire is actually good. I do think that it almost doesn't work. It doesn't work by itself, right? Like you could enjoy it if you watched it by yourself or by itself.
Yes.
But
having learned who the characters were, and like knowing there's gonna be a finale, the end of this movie is just sort of like, I guess they lost and they're gonna go regroup.
Yes, exactly. Like it is a well-made film, but it's not it's not a standalone at all. And
whereas The Last Jedi is the sort of Empire of the sequel trilogy. It again, you need to have met these characters beforehand, but it functions. Of course, you have to have seen like 7 or 8 Star Wars movies to like really know all the shit, but like
I would argue that Last Jedi is similar to Empire in this exact same way, in that it is a defeat at the end, a victory and a defeat.
Greatest teacher failure is.
Yes. And so that you are left like, okay, well, there's something bigger that's going to come and going to finish the whole thing off. And it might be unfair to say in a trilogy that a movie can't stand by itself in order to like rate whether it's good or bad or not, because it's obviously very good. But as far as that was the only like negative thing I could think about when I was like, oh, is this movie actually good? I was like, well, if you watched it by itself, you would be left wanting.
And I think that falls off of our rubric for our show, because we're grading it on how Star Wars it is, and Star Wars is contingent upon there being Star Wars.
Exactly. That makes it incredibly Star Wars, because
even when this movie came out, it was contingent upon there having already been a Star Wars movie and like a book and a fandom that was born.
Yeah, being good and being better when it is in the context of a greater universe is very Star Wars.
Yes.
Because all of it can be better appreciated through it's like reading this book makes you appreciate other stuff more.
Yeah.
And
which I can't remember the last time that was true. It might be Last Jedi. The Last Jedi made me like Force Awakens more, because oh wow, Luke is a straight up like combination between Obi-Wan and Yoda. Like he's an old fucking kook.
We talked about in the Empire episode last time of something that I said was like that prequels and Mandalorian and stuff was making me appreciate some things in Empire more or differently. And that was something interesting, like rewatching some of the prequels recently too, is that like it gives you context for certain things. But I had a friend recently who watched everything Star Wars, all movies and TV shows. She and her husband did, and she's been like sort of keeping me up with it. And that's something that she said. She was like that her favorite was the cartoons, was Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah,
because she felt like it gave her the most sense of like understanding of the world, and it made her like everything else more.
Right.
Because of the characterization of... It
certainly makes you like the clones a lot more, because you basically never have any relationship with them in the movies.
Right. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say before we go to the pit?
No, I think we should dive into the pit.
Let's jump in.
Aye!
And we're Empire Strikes Back. Did we do that the first time?
Oh, that's good.
I can't remember if we did it the first time.
I don't think we did. That's good.
I just listened to that episode, so if we did, I will be ashamed.
Welcome back, everybody. I have written the game for the episode this week,
Woo!
And it is called The Blank Pyre Blanks Blank.
Oh, yay.
So longtime listeners may recognize that silly naming convention, but... never fear, we are not doing Alex Blankter Blankleton.
Okay.
This is just like true or false and trivia about Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, great.
I thought it would be funny to name it that and hear, like, from this moment recording it, hear a bunch of people go,
Yeah, a collective sigh.
But yet another, we've referenced the survey now a couple times tonight. In the survey, an overwhelming number of you folks like our trivia games the most. So I was like, well, shit, I don't have any good ideas. I'll do a trivia game.
And for the next game that I wrote, listeners, I did not write a trivia game. So I said, screw you.
Yeah. So first off, a big thanks to whoever put the Empire deleted scenes on YouTube, because I had never seen them before. I had heard of them, but I had never watched. And of course, thank you to Star Wars Explained, aka Alex Damon, the YouTube channel Star Wars Explained, because I watched the Did You Know Fun Facts About Empire video yesterday. I had seen it before, but I watched it again because I was like, oh, these can all be facts, because I bet Josiah didn't watch this yesterday.
I didn't. And you know what? Thanks to Star Wars. Too,
and thanks to Star Wars. And thanks to stars.
And thanks. You know what? Honestly, I'm going to say no thanks to wars.
That's a big no from me.
Yeah, I'm just going to go on a limb there and say no wars for me.
Okay, so these are just like truly trivia questions. What is the ice cream guy's name?
Oh man, I just listened to the episode and you said his name. It's like, and there's a run. They do a run with him. It's like, damn Plengar or something stupid like that.
One, that isn't close. But two, that is very Star Wars. That feels like when you play Battlefront and it's like you were killed by damn Plengar or whatever it was you said. It is Wilro Hood.
Ah. Wilro Baggins of the Hood Baggins.
What is Lando's bald cybernetic assistant's name?
Lobot. I know that. His name's Lobot.
Lobot is correct, which of course
Lobot, like
was
robot with a low.
shortened from lobotomy.
Oh, that's upsetting.
Like in there's a Lando like trade. I'm sure it was a single issue series of comics, but in fact I don't know if I have it anymore. But I got the trade paperback of it, and it shows like Lando and Lobot as like buddies for a while, and then like at some point he gets like lobotomized.
Jesus,
I can't remember the story now, but that's canon. Okay,
that's awful.
there is like only one other woman in this movie besides Leia, although I can't verify whether or not any of the Ugnaughts are women.
Sure.
She's the one who gives the go for firing of the ion cannon, or as they call it in the Family Guy version, the giant boob nipple gun.
Right.
So it's like the only other woman in the Rebel Alliance, and what is her name?
Ooh, I'm gonna say.
I will also say, from a certain point of view, she has her own story, and she's referenced in like 2 or 3 other stories on Hoth.
People were like, the only girl.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say she's Mon Mothma's cousin, the only other woman, and her name is. So I'm gonna say like Marvin Mothma.
You
gotta hear. I'm gonna say so. We got like Mon Mothma. Like I'm gonna say her name's Matu. So not like Mawan Mothma, but Matu.
Like
Mothma.
Due Mothma.
Yeah, like Mon Madu, and then like they have another cousin named like Matre or Matois. It's a long walk to get. You know,
they're the 3 legendary
Mothma.
Bird Mothmas.
Yeah. I'm gonna rework this numbers joke later, and I'll edit in like a better version of it. But that's my guess.
It sounds completely different. Like you record it tomorrow.
It's very crisp. The audio quality is like excellent.
Her name is Torin Farr.
Sure.
I think you've gotten this far in your rewatch of it today, I believe. What is the tool that Han Solo asks Chewie to hand him?
Oh, that's a good question. And we should all be asking questions like this in our lives. You gotta be curious. You gotta wonder. It's called like a dialithic spanner.
Oh, Spanner is right.
I knew I thought Spanner was in there.
Yeah, it is Hydro Spanner.
Hydro Spanner.
Making sure that is. I was like, I just pulled that out of my ass, and I was like, I didn't verify if that's the movie it was from, but it is. Okay, I'm gonna read this verbatim because I just typed it as I thought it out. Which of the following bounty hunters was not present at Darth Vader's briefing to capture the Millennium Falcon? Wait, actually, just see if you can name all of them. Hint, there are 6.
Okay, great. IG-88, Boba Fett.
2.
What's the little lizard guy's name? Don't tell me. Shut up.
Shut up.
Shush. Oh. Rex.
Like from Toy Story?
Yeah, like from Toy Story.
Roar! Were you scared?
It's Rex from Toy Story. And then...
And I'm from Mattel. Well, actually, I'm from a smaller company that's owned by Mattel.
Oh, man. That's all I got. I think that, like, so much of my memory has been destroyed recently from my new job where I sing songs to little kids.
Well, you should sing them this song. Dengar IG-88, Boba Fett Bosk, Forlom Zuckus.
See, I knew Dengar and Bosk and Forlom. The only one I didn't know was that last one you said.
Forlom and Zuckus are the ones that kind of look alike and get confused for one another by even, like, Kenner.
Yeah.
They're the ones who Andy Richter and Weird Al Yankovic played in that Detours show that never saw the light of day, but that one episode leaked on Twitter a while back.
Man. What a shame. I'm ashamed I
Anyway.
didn't know those. I'm sorry, everyone.
They each have a story in the From a Certain Point of View book as
course.
well. Okay. Alec Guinness, Sir Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi himself, completed his work on Empire in how much time?
15 minutes.
Well, here, I'll give you I have 4 choices.
Oh, 2 minutes.
Oh, well, in that case, I'll take another guess. 5 days, 2 days, just over 8 hours, or under 5 hours.
I feel like he's only in it as an apparition man and voiceover, which wouldn't take very long. I'm gonna say under 5 hours.
That's correct.
Yeah, I was gonna say he probably came in and was like, one and done, baby.
He does the appearance on Hoth, and then he's on Dagobah like twice.
Yeah, God, that would be easy day. Easy day.
Follow-up question about Alec Guinness.
Hot or not?
Hot or not. Okay, Alec Guinness's payment for that, 5 hours of work was, which is funny, before I go into it, what's his face? I almost called him Neil Patrick Harris. James Earl Jones. When they did the original one, I know we've talked about this on the show before, but he was, of course, the voice of Darth Vader, and he was such a late ad because it was, kind of post-production that they would do voiceover. They said, like, we can either give you some number that was something like $5,000 or something like really low, or we can give you like a point on the gross. Or something crazy like that. And he was like, I'll take the cash. Because like he was
idiot.
Like, this is the stupid thing that's never going to go anywhere. And then, of course, the amount he would have been paid. But anyway, here we go. Alec Guinness's payment for Empire was 0.25% of the gross. So 0.25%. How much was this in dollars in 1980? Well, and I don't have choices.
Man.
You have to guess.
0.25% of the gross,
right?
Of just the year that it came out.
Or like box office.
Box office. Okay, great. Wow, that probably would be. I mean, what? Like, I'm trying to think how many millions, because it definitely made millions. I don't know any. I can't think about this level of math in my head right now. So I'm just gonna say like. Let's say it made like what's pretty good nowadays? Like a 300 million box office opening is pretty good. So back then we're probably looking like it's lower, maybe 100 mil. Maybe in those days dollars. So we're looking at like maybe 1% of 100 mil is 1 mil. So $250,000.
Good work on the math. You were just off on the gross though. His payment ended up being around $1 million, so it would have been like higher. A 400. We can look, but that was part of the video.
Yeah, so like a 400 million open.
Isn't that wild? Like that. Not open, like whole.
Right, gross. Sorry, yeah, gross.
Run.
Gross.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my okay. That's a crazy amount of money for being in the movie for 5 hours or working on the movie for 5 hours.
Yeah, totally crazy.
That's like, man, that's the opposite of when we watched like the movies that made us about Home Alone and John Candy just made scale for his like day of filming because he did it as like just
like,
as a buddy.
This sounds fun.
Well, and he was like friends with the director or something like
Columbus.
that. Like it was just like come in and we'll do. And he was also friends with Catherine O'Hara and all those people. And so like he just came in and did it for scale because he was already a big star at the time. It's like a crazy cameo that he was in that. And the guy who played the pizza guy who comes and gets the tip made more than him.
That's nuts.
Because John Candy just took scale for a day rate for just like a day
which
player.
Is what? Like at the time that was
it
what,
was
1990 or 1980 something?
Yeah, it was like several $100s or something like that. Right. Like he made like 300 or 400
yeah,
bucks.
like $500, right?
Yeah. And so the pizza guy made more because I think he was there for like
a couple of days
longer or something. Yeah. And I was like, that's such a bro move. Just be like, yeah, I'll do it. And then like it's the exact opposite of Alec Guinness being like, I know I was only in this movie for 5 hours, but I would like 0.25% of the gross.
Funny.
That's incredible.
Okay, this is a multiple choice. So the snow troopers, the stormtroopers that look like KKK kind of?
Yeah, the upsetting. Yeah, okay.
The snow troopers were played by
the Beatles.
Danish basketball players,
Okay,
B,
not the Beatles.
Norwegian mountain rescue skiers,
Also
or
not the Beatles,
C,
okay.
Swedish brewers and distillers.
None of those were the Beatles. Like my guess. I want to say B because that feels like they would have wanted people who could operate in snowy conditions.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That makes sense. Even though, did they shoot on location for any of that where there was actual snow?
In the Echo Base, I'm sure it was a set, but
Sure.
I know they would have shot in snow for like the landscape scenes.
That makes sense. I like that. That's fun.
Yeah, it's cute.
They're like, get some people in here who know how to ride on snow. And they're like, just stand. Yeah, do we have anybody who knows how to ride a tauntaun?
Okay, in the asteroid field, my favorite scene, although it's not, I just like loved it this time around. Which of the following objects was not included by ILM as an asteroid? Because they put some like funny goofs in there. A potato, a shoe,
Yeah.
or a golf ball?
I'm gonna say golf ball wasn't.
That's correct. Too regular.
Yeah. Too regular. No,
Yeah.
a circle?
Yeah.
No. A shoe though.
Yeah,
Asteroid could be-
supposedly there was both a
asteroid could be a
potato and
shoe.
a shoe in the asteroid field posing as asteroids.
I love that. They were like looking around like, I hope these other asteroids don't find out that we're not asteroids.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna look real stupid.
Okay, this one's a true or false. In deleted scenes, while the gang is still on Hoth, Wampas break through a wall on Echo Base. As the gang evacuates, C-3PO tears a warning sign off of the chamber where the rebels contained the monsters. So they contain them, they lock the door, and then they put a warning sign up. So that when the Empire shows up, hot on their trail, the snowtroopers open the door because the sign is no longer there, and one gets snatched into the room by a big furry white arm, and he screams the infamous Wilhelm scream. Darth Vader is also present. That's a true or false?
True or false? I was like, I lost the plot because I was like, wow, that'd be a weird scene. I'm gonna say true.
Yeah, that's all true. There were like multiple scenes that were cut involving Wampas in the base.
Wow, that was a smart cut.
Yes, totally.
That sounds like some fat that
However,
was,
that
cut
like
off.
warning sign door is visible in all sorts of Star Wars shit. Like Battlefront, when you're playing on Hoth, you can like see that sign, and like you do see them run by the door with the sign having been torn off. There's still like a little piece of it left. Like it's crazy.
That's fine.
Okay, true or false? This movie is just so pretty. Such dynamic lighting, so well shot.
I'm gonna say true.
That is true.
Good.
True or false? In a deleted scene, Lobot speaks. Only 5 words. You can't be in here.
Huh. Well, I'm gonna say that is true.
That is false.
Wow, did you just make that up?
I just
You can't be
fully
in
made it
here?
up. There is a deleted scene involving Lobot that he gets like captured by a couple of stormtroopers, and that's kind of the extent of it.
Man, it is really messed. That's really messed up that Lobot is short for lobotomy,
Mm-hmm.
because that's like a terrible thing that happened to. I always thought he was like someone who got turned was like, you know what? I would like to be a cyborg in order to better run this place.
We should like look up the Lobot story and do that as like a Patreon episode sometime.
Yeah, what's the Lobot lore?
Yeah.
You know? I want some low lore.
What's the Lobot lore? What is the
Tell me,
Lobot
what is
lore?
the Lobot lore? Dun-dun-dun.
Only a couple more here. True or false? In a deleted scene, as Luke is recovering from the Wampa attack at Echo Base, he has an intimate conversation with Leia where he indicates he has romantic feelings for her, and they downright almost kiss.
Well, seeing as they do kiss later, when Leia's like, "You guys don't know everything about women," that wouldn't be that out of left field. So I'm gonna say true.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
As I was watching it, I was like, because Luke basically goes like, Leia, I haven't been able to say this or something like that, and I was like, oh wow, there was a version of this movie where they were really trying to play into like the love triangle trope.
Yeah.
And it was pretty weird.
He was like, Leia, I haven't got to tell you this. I'm sinking into quicksand, and I'm never gonna get to tell you. And then in George Lucas, and then in interviews, J.J. Abrams will let everybody know that I was going to say I was force sensitive.
Yes.
And
Right.
not that I'm in love with you, Ray.
Yeah,
and,
man, it's funny thinking about, like, say they had included that scene, like, okay, so now we have this, like, romantic love triangle thing, but then Leia spends the entire movie with Han, like, and Luke is still, like, such a fucking virgin.
Yeah, he's like the anti-Chad.
That's like his whole vibe.
That's a good cut too, for what reason you just said. Like, there's no reason for it to be there because there would be no tension about where is this gonna go.
Yeah,
because Leia and Han spend the rest of the time very close.
Right,
together.
and like the remaining sort of like indication of a love triangle is that Leia kisses Luke, but it's all just to like piss off Han.
To spite Han. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, last question: true or false? In a deleted scene from Empire Strikes Back, Leia is tending to Luke once back aboard the Falcon without a hand, and she basically tells him everything that happened in the latter half of the movie to Han. She says he was frozen in carbonite and he's aboard Boba Fett's ship. Luke asks, Boba Fett? And she says, a bounty hunter. Then she, like, kisses him on the mouth.
I'm going to say true again.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Man.
I didn't even bother like trying to hide that like all the deleted scenes were true except for the one Lobot one because I was like, I gotta describe these scenes.
That's another good cut because once again, there's no reason for it because we've seen the tension between her and Han the whole time.
And we saw the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's
it's
like Boba Fett?
They
like,
filmed
he's a
that
bounty
scene.
hunter. It's okay. Go to sleep.
They filmed that scene, and then when they're watching it back, we're like, wait, no, our audience isn't complete idiots.
Like our
They've
audience
seen
was
the movie.
watching.
Right? We don't have to catch
Although
them.
I don't think they ever say Boba Fett in this movie.
Oh, I don't think they do.
So like it could have been like the, canon first appearance of the name or whatever.
I do love / hate anytime in like it's such a tropey thing, and as someone who has to audition for a lot of bad books to do audiobooks of, it's my favorite thing of exposition whenever it's like because that's not as bad because at least Luke wasn't there, but whenever someone is telling someone something and they say this thing X, like if I'm talking about to you about the backstory of our world, right?
It's like the improv thing of like, you always do this.
Right. It's like, Mike, that in 2020 there was a COVID pandemic. So why are you saying this? And it's like, well, why would I say that? Because I know you know that. And we both experienced it at the same time. So why am I telling you?
Yeah.
It's that weird, like, it's a good thing they cut that is what I'm saying. Because, like, that kind of exposition is very clunky.
Yes, totally. And just because that was the end of the game, but just because I said it was called the blank pyre blanks blank, I just thought of a version of that. It will rhyme with The Empire Strikes Back, but 3 different things are changed. And you have to tell me what the rhyme with The Empire Strikes Back is. That is this.
Okay.
A jewel uses a spear to stab the actor who plays Dewey Finn on School of Rock.
Ooh, okay. The gem pyre spikes black.
That's funny because I wrote the gem pyre Pike's Jack. But both are correct. Spikes black and Pike's Jack.
Oh, incredible.
That was that game.
Well, that was a good game. I enjoyed it.
You know what I want to know from you having re-listened to our other Empire episode recently?
Yeah.
What prompted us to give it such a high score? Because that's sort of surprising to me.
I think it's because something that we kept talking about in that episode was this was the first time someone asked the question, how Star Wars is it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because it was like they had to set in stone certain things of like, what is the Star Wars universe? And they were setting the pattern of like, we use the improv metaphor we always use of like AAA,
right.
Is it 111? Is it BBB? Whatever, etc. So I think the thing that we said was because it is, and because it's similar to how Phantom Menace is like Star Wars whenever it's like not good. This is Star Wars when it is good. And so it's like because they're sort of the opposite ends of the quality spectrum, but both feel incredibly
Like
on
Empire
brand.
said, okay, we know what Star Wars is. What if we expanded that to be also a good film?
Right.
Like,
right.
not that
Yeah.
Star Wars wasn't, but it was a by the numbers, like, serial
Hero's
opera.
journey. Yeah. And so I think that was the main reason, was that, like, and because every Star Wars movie that's come out since then has been in the shadow of, like, trying to live up
trying to do a reveal.
Yes. And so, and because it set so many,
Actually, wait, does, like, every movie try to do a reveal? So, okay, Jedi is, like, and then also Leia.
yeah.
And we're like, okay. And then Phantom Menace sort of insinuates that Anakin is of a virgin birth and was created by the Force and or by Palpatine.
And there's also a reveal of that Padme is the real queen. Like, that's sort of a reveal, kind of. But
and then let's see, Attack of the Clones. There's a reveal that it's a Kaminoan saber dart.
A saber dart. Oh, when do we find out? that
They get married.
They get married. Is that a reveal?
I guess not.
When do we find out that Palpatine and Sidious are the same? Is that in 2
Well,
or is that in 1?
That one's kind of silly because, like, if you know what the movies
Right,
are,
we
you
know.
Yeah, right. So,
Well, I guess the reveal. I mean, that's the question, right? Because in the prequels, we already know everything. So the reveals are
and even in episode 1, if you watch through the credits, it'll be like Darth Sidious slash Senator Palpatine.
Well, what's interesting, I remember, because Star Wars rhymes, right? And I remember when I was making those TikToks, one of the things I talked about was, like, the similarities, the parallels between the Return of the Jedi lightsaber fight, and the Last Jedi throne room battle. And I was like, it makes these parallels, like, make both of these scenes feel cool, and, like, makes the Last Jedi one even cooler. And then, like, the fanboys who didn't like Last Jedi were in the comments being like, it rhymes, but it's in the wrong movie. And so, like, that if it rhymes with or Return of the Jedi, it should be in the later one. Which, like, in a way, I kind of agree. Like, not really, but, like,
yeah, I mean, like, you could pick any 2 movies and find, like, plot elements that are rhymes, quote unquote.
But the idea of a lineage reveal, of a family reveal, is set in Empire and is done in, like,
it's done in
pretty
Jedi.
much
It's not really done in Phantom Menace, but kind of, because he's, like, a virgin birth. That's, like, kind of a, like, familial reveal. In episode 2,
they get married.
we find out that Yoda can do a lot of flips.
In episode 3,
that R2-D2 can fly.
In episode 3, we find out that you were my brother, Anakin. They were brothers the whole time.
Right? And then, of course, in all the sequels, we find out a family thing. Kylo Ren is Han and Leia's kid, and then Rey is nobody.
And then they weren't content with that, so never mind.
And then Rey is not nobody, right?
Yeah.
So you're right. It
was
like
part
invented it invented the thing that Star Wars is, which is, like, let's, like, do another big
Yeah. And so it sets a lot of that. It also, one of the things to talk about is that it has a lot of, like, the iconic lines that, like, so many of the iconic Star Wars lines come from this movie.
Like, I got a bad feeling about this.
I love you, I know.
I love you, I know.
No, I am your father. All that jazz. So, like, there was a lot of. I think most of the reason was because this set
luminous
a precedent.
beings are we, not this crude matter.
Wait, what?
That's something that Yoda says.
Wow.
When he's saying, like, judge me by my size, do you?
I thought you said humanist beings.
Oh, yeah, no, luminous.
Like, luminous.
When Luke's like, that's impossible. He's like, no, dude. We're all, like, just like souls, you know?
He's like, we're all stardust, baby. Carl Sagan.
Yeah. We're all made of stars.
So that's, like, I think why it got pretty high. I do think now, talking about it with you and having recently talked about Phantom Menace, I think maybe Phantom Menace
is, like, far and away
higher than this, because Star Wars is so Star Wars and goofy and campy.
Now Yoda, it's the introduction of Yoda, who is, like, a straight up drag queen.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, in terms of, like, camp level.
I did talk about Yoda a lot in our last episode and how much I love his portrayal in this movie, because he's so silly and goofy. And I was thinking about that too, because I talked about looking for someone, found someone you have. The idea that he's always, like, because I said there were two things. One, he's always been this way and was just pretending to be cool for the Jedi Order.
Yeah, for like 800 years.
Yeah, or two, he's testing Luke by being a freaking goofball to see if he'll be cool. But then I didn't think about the third one, which was that being 20 years by himself kind of made him a little crazy.
Yeah, right. Like
which
he's
is probably
had
the more
to do
accurate
COVID
one.
like 20 times longer than we have.
But he has a very
But yeah,
long-lived
like he does
species,
have that
too, so I
cool
don't know.
moment where it's like, oh, he isn't just like a goofball. Like he like goes from being like crazy to being like he's reckless. You know,
Right.
like
He like
okay.
he's being funny. He's like, I can't train him, and Obi-Wan's like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. I'm John Lennon. I
Was
guess.
I any different when I was his age?
And Obi-Wan's like, imagine if there were no dark side.
Ooby
I don't know,
dooby.
it's not- but yeah, I do think Phantom's higher. So like, I don't know if we're gonna get into decimal points.
Yeah, right. I think
or
we
not.
said Phantom Menace was 9. Yeah.
We did. And I mean, originally we were like, Phantom Menace is a high 9, and Empire
Yeah,
Strikes
I'm
Back's
good
a
with
low
Phantom
9.
Menace being our only Hisui 9. That
Sure,
feels
we can-
right in the way that like Jedi is our only Hisui 10. Like that feels
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So I mean, should we do a unit of measure real quick?
Yes.
I'm gonna do. I only watched like a quarter of the movie this time. I feel bad. I'm gonna
Well,
do.
I'll let you think because I know I gotta do asteroids, baby.
Hey, you know what? Going with asteroids again. I'm gonna do the hand puppets that are a
The
big
slug.
snake. Yeah, a big slug. But
And
it's
then
a
it goes
hand
like,
puppet.
oh.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, chomp.
Ah, darn it.
I missed the little guy. What about like? I mean, I guess we can always like retrofit this if we need to, because like, you know, what if something else feels higher than an 8 but not a 9?
Oh, sure.
Because I feel like this should be a high 8 point something.
Yes,
so
I
don't
agree.
know. What are you thinking?
I'm
Like an
thinking-
8.75?
Yeah,
or
like
something?
8 3/4 asteroids.
Yeah, like 8
Which, of course, an
3/4.
asteroid is not like one unit is not like a serving size. So it's 8 asteroids, and then it's like 3/4 of an asteroid, which I guess is like a shoe.
Yeah, sure. A serving size of asteroids.
Yeah.
We're gonna start a Hisui cereal.
Are you entering this into our thing?
I'm making a little note.
Oh, good,
yeah.
okay.
I've got a note on my computer for this. So.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So yeah, Empire is a 8 3/4,
Hell yeah.
which I think works for me because it feels a little more like solid. I don't know.
Yeah.
And next on the docket of Star Wars movies, we have to do A New Hope. Which,
I know, and then we're done with the original trilogy, which sucks.
Yeah, we have to watch like the.
Although, to be honest, I like watching the prequels. I like the prequels.
You know what's interesting is I experienced this when I was trying, making some time to watch Empire today. I've seen the original trilogy so many times.
Right.
And I was talking with Charlie about this recently. Is like, I don't like rewatching things very much. Like, there are very few TV shows I've rewatched. There are very few movies I've rewatched.
Sure.
Charlie and I are slowly going through all the Marvel movies together, just like for fun. And I'm enjoying that because I can like play video games on my Switch while I watch it because I'm like, I've already seen this movie.
Yeah.
But
They're all just Iron Man. They shoot lasers.
They're all Iron Man, and part of it is because I truly do like remember a lot of the stuff that happens in a lot of these movies. Like I was surprising Charlie by like calling plot things from like Iron Man and Captain America and like Hulk. And I was like, I mean, I've seen these movies a couple times, but also it's just because like I do just remember things from TV shows and movies, and so that's part of the reason why I think watching the original trilogy is like sometimes a little more boring for me. And I'm kind of looking forward to watching the prequels, and the sequels because those ones I have seen way fewer times.
Totally, yeah.
So
The
I am, like,
sequels,
kind of
especially
excited
for
to
me.
get into
I
it.
only saw Rise of Skywalker the one time. I've
Me
only
too.
seen Solo once. I have come around
too.
fully on Rogue One, so I'm excited to revisit that.
I've seen all of those only once. I saw Force Awakens like 3 times in theaters, and like Last Jedi like twice. So like it'll be great. But yeah, so 8.75. Let's wrap up, right?
I like
Don't you
it.
think?
Yeah. Do you want us on the internet?
Yeah, if you do, you can find us at How Star Wars Is It on Twitter and Instagram, TikTok, and you can email us at agoodpodcast@gmail.com.
We love getting emails. We love getting tweets, you guys.
Yes.
We've gotten some tweets lately, and they've just been so fun. They've been, like about the episode that dropped that day or whatever, and it's like, yeah, awesome. We love knowing that this isn't just like us like shouting into our computers.
We had some really good responses about the Queen watching Shrek from Lior. We had some good responses from Colleen about the Major Payne video.
Right.
What was the other? Who else responded?
Yeah, wait, I'm pulling it up now because we've had a couple recently that are like, yeah, we love hearing from you guys. Come on.
Yeah, it makes us very happy.
Of course,
someone was clarifying something about the extra scenes added in Phantom Menace, I believe. Can't remember their name or handle.
We had the whole thread back and forth with you and me and the podcast Twitter with Steven, who was saying that he was talking about some things that appear in the Disney Plus version of Phantom Menace versus on like the DVD or whatever. But he also, we may have even called this out, but he also told us like, hey, yeah, you guys were asking for in the Return of the Jedi from a certain point of view, you were asking for there to be a Rancor Keeper like story and like how he became the Rancor Keeper. And he was like, check this video out. And there's like a whole Star Wars fan movie that is exactly that. And it was great. And I'm so happy that he pointed that out. And then, of course, Lior, our friend of the show here from the Chicago comedy
and
world,
friend in real
adjacent, has also been a good friend on Twitter. We should probably just cut all this Twitter talk, huh?
I like it.
We're just floundering around. And then, of course, we also have our merch store that is linked on our social medias again now. Let's see, what else?
Yes, that's it. Whatever. The rest of our stuff's in the show notes. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, then it's about time for bye-bye. So, like we always say,
we love you.
And may the 4th be with you. Bye. That's how Caitlin said it in our first episode.
Bye.
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 Oh, bye.